Eli Matthews had never intended for anyone else to read that letter. It wasn't a confession, not really. It was a whisper of the truth he'd been carrying for years, folded into careful words and hidden inside the third drawer of his desk at school. Just ink and paper, addressed to no one, meant for no one, except maybe himself. At 22, Eli was in his third year at university in Ohio, quietly majoring in English literature, while trying to survive in a family that only celebrated what fit their mold. His father was a Sunday suit and sermon kind of man. His mother, too, held tightly to their image of a normal family. 3 sons, all God-fearing and clean-cut, and if one of them happened to be different, they just didn't mention it. Eli came out at 20 quietly, only to Alex Romero, a visiting film intern who understood silence better than most. Alex had the kind of calm voice that made you feel like a room wasn't closing in. He had almond eyes that lingered just long enough, and hands that made Eli feel seen even when no one else looked. Their love wasn't loud. It couldn't be. They met in borrowed time between lectures and held hands only once, briefly, under the flicker of a streetlight, inside an old bus shelter when no one was watching. Except someone was. A cousin had seen them, had told Eli's parents, and the fallout came not with fire, but with ice. Cold distance, shorter phone calls, the way his mother blinked slowly and said, "We'll pretend this didn't happen." The way his father started calling only Ezra when he needed help with the house. And worst of all, the way Alex pulled away after that, stopped replying to texts, stopped walking by the coffee shop where they used to sit. No goodbye, no reason, just silence. That was the year Eli learned that rejection doesn't always come in screaming matches. Sometimes it arrives in a locked door and a mother who stops setting the third plate at dinner. And then, somehow, it got worse. Ezra, Eli's twin, the one everyone loved, the one who got the second slice of cake without asking, the one their parents called a real man, found the letter, the one Eli wrote but never sent, the one that began, "I'm not asking anyone to fix me. I just want to live without hiding." Ezra didn't say anything when he found it. Not to Eli, not for weeks. But Eli noticed how the family dinners got shorter, how his name was skipped when Mom prayed, and how eventually his private words became public knowledge among cousins, classmates, and somehow even the campus dance team. No one said it aloud, but everyone knew. Ezra smiled like nothing had changed. At graduation, he clapped Eli on the back and said, "I still love you, bro. We're twins, after all." But Eli had never felt further away from him than in that moment, because what he lost wasn't just love, it was trust. If you've ever felt betrayed by the one person you thought would protect you, stay with us. Because Eli's story isn't over. What would you do if your twins shared your truth before you were ready? Subscribe to Heart Stories and share this if you know how it feels to be betrayed by someone who shares your blood. It wasn't the words that hurt Eli. It was how effortlessly Ezra had said them, like they were a punchline to a joke no one else was in on. They were standing by the punch bowl at their college graduation party, half a dozen folding chairs set out on the Matthews back lawn, plastic tablecloths fluttering in the wind. Their father had grilled steaks, their mother had made potato salad, and every smile felt like a lie stitched too tightly into the afternoon. That's when Ezra leaned in and said, "I read your letter ages ago. Thought you should know. I still love you, though." He said it like a favor, like admitting to breaking the lock on Eli's drawer, and passing his secret around the family was something he should be thankful for. Eli froze, his solo cup half raised. "You what?" Ezra shrugged. "It was just a letter. I figured you needed help getting it out." Then he smiled. "I mean, it worked, didn't it?" Eli didn't say anything. He couldn't. The words stuck in his throat like gravel. It was only later, after most of the guests had gone home, that he asked his mother what she knew. She was drying dishes, Ezra in the living room playing video games with their cousins. "Your brother told me you wrote something. We agreed not to bring it up, thought it was a phase." She wiped a plate, then paused. "But your father found out. He didn't want to ruin graduation." Eli could barely breathe. "So you just kept it quiet?" His mother's face tightened. "Don't make this harder than it has to be, Eli. We didn't tell anyone." Not really. But they had. He could feel it in every glance, every quiet shift in conversation when he walked into a room. What Eli didn't know was that the real betrayal had already happened weeks before. Ezra, the twin who used to trade seats with him in third grade when he forgot his homework, had taken the letter and shown it to their cousin Drew. Drew showed it to someone else, and soon Eli's words, written in the privacy of his dorm room, never meant to be spoken, were dissected in whispers over lunch tables and hallway corners. It was no longer Eli might be gay. It was Eli wrote a letter about being gay and tried to hide it. The lie wasn't in being gay. The lie was in thinking Ezra had his back. Eli tried to move on. He found a small job helping coordinate workshops for local youth theater groups. It didn't pay much, but it gave him space. He stopped going home except for holidays. Every Thanksgiving felt like an act, smiling at a table where no one asked about his job, where his seat was always the one next to the edge, never at the center. Ezra went on to intern at a local marketing agency, their father proudly posting about it on Facebook. "So proud of this one," the caption read. Eli wasn't mentioned. Then came the wedding invitation, a cream envelope with gold lettering, addressed formally, Mr. Eli Matthews. Inside, a folded card announcing the engagement of Ezra Matthews and Alex Romero. Eli's hands shook. The name hit like a freight train. It couldn't be the same Alex. Not the Alex he had held hands with under the bus shelter. Not the Alex who had kissed him once outside the art building and whispered, "I wish the world could see this." But it was. Eli hadn't spoken to Alex in nearly 3 years. After the cousin exposed them, Alex had vanished, ghosted him completely, without even a text. Eli had blamed the fear, the pressure, the risk of being outed. But now it felt all different. Personal, calculated. He almost didn't go to the wedding, but something in him, a quiet, stubborn piece that refused to be erased, told him to show up. Not to make a scene, not to get closure, just to witness the story they'd written without him. It was held in a vineyard outside Columbus, full of rustic fairy lights and delicate glassware. Ezra stood by the altar, his hair slicked back, beaming like the world had never cracked. Alex wore navy and looked everywhere but at Eli. And then, during the speeches, Ezra raised his champagne glass and said the thing that cracked everything open. "I know some of you were surprised when Alex and I got together," he said, pausing just long enough for the silence to stretch. "And maybe more surprised when we chose to invite everyone, even those we've hurt. But 3 years ago, I betrayed the one person who trusted me most. I read something I wasn't meant to, and I let that fear turn into gossip. I exposed a truth that wasn't mine to share." Eli sat frozen in the second to last row. Ezra's voice didn't waver. "And if I'm being honest, I didn't fall in love with Alex because he reminded me of someone else. I fell in love with him because he saw the worst in me and still stayed." The room didn't erupt in gasps. There was no dramatic music, just the clink of forks against plates and the weight of a truth finally spoken aloud. Eli didn't clap. He didn't cry. He just looked down at the letter he had folded in his pocket, the original one, now faded, the corners curled, and thought about how words, once let loose, can't be taken back, but they can be reclaimed. He stayed long enough for the first dance, then slipped out into the cool night air. Not to disappear, but to begin again. Eli didn't expect to be in the wedding photos. He stood far back during the group shots, half behind a potted olive tree during the family lineup. No one called his name, and he didn't step forward. But as the photographer adjusted her lens for one last candid capture, something strange happened. Ezra stepped sideways, slightly, deliberately, making space. Not much, just enough to let a camera catch what words couldn't. Eli in the background, eyes unreadable, watching the brother who once held his secrets like they were glass. The photo surfaced 2 days later, posted on the wedding website. It wasn't supposed to matter. Just another image in a sea of curated perfection. But someone noticed. A friend from college messaged Eli, "Is that you? You okay?" Another followed. "Wait, wasn't that your ex?" The flood came slowly, not cruel but curious. Friends, distant relatives, even one of Eli's old art professors reaching out, unsure what to say but needing to say something. That photo didn't just reveal presence, it revived memory. Eli didn't respond to most of them, but he did open a message from someone unexpected. Alex's older sister, Camila. They hadn't spoken in years. She used to tease Alex, call Eli Silent Thunder when he'd visit the apartment, quietly placing his sketchbook on the kitchen table while the siblings argued over music. Her message was short. I didn't know he was your brother. I'm sorry. I just wanted you to know I remember. You mattered. He sat with that line for hours. You mattered. It felt foreign and familiar all at once. That night, Eli pulled out the old box beneath his bed, the one he hadn't opened in 2 years. Inside were scraps of what once was a dried flower Alex had pressed into his hand after their first kiss, a festival bracelet they never took off, ticket stubs, a Polaroid of Eli looking away from the camera, sun in his eyes. In the corner was something he had almost forgotten about, a drawing he'd made the day after they broke up. It wasn't of Alex, not exactly. It was of a silhouette, faceless, untethered, holding a piece of string attached to a balloon. The balloon was shaped like a heart, but jagged at the edges, floating upward as if trying to escape gravity. Beneath it, Eli had scribbled one sentence. He let go before I ever held on tight enough. He took the photo from the wedding site, printed it, and pinned it beside the drawing. Not as a shrine, but as a timeline, one where he no longer skipped chapters. The next morning, he received an email from Ezra. No subject line, no greeting. It read, I know I can't undo anything, but I want to try saying what I couldn't then. Are you free to meet? Eli didn't answer immediately. He had plans, a workshop with his students, then an opening at the gallery where his after-school program's kids had work displayed. But by evening, something in him softened. He typed back a single word, tomorrow. They met at a neutral place, the Botanical Garden downtown. Eli arrived first, sitting on a bench near the koi pond, watching the water ripple like memory. Ezra came late, hair damp like he'd run, eyes tired but steady. He didn't sit right away, just stood there for a minute, hands in his pockets. I didn't mean for it to go that way, Ezra finally said. I was scared, not of you, of how it would change everything, and it did. Just not in the ways I thought. Eli looked up. You weren't scared of change. You were scared of being near me when I changed. Ezra flinched. Maybe. They sat in silence. The kind of silence that once filled their childhood room, when neither could sleep, when one would toss a pillow at the other and whisper nonsense until they laughed in the dark. Ezra cleared his throat. Alex didn't know, not at first, and when he found out, he wanted to leave. I begged him to stay. Not because I wanted to win, but because I was tired of feeling like I'd lost everything and had no right to ask for any of it back. Eli nodded. So you used him to feel less like a villain. Ezra didn't deny it. They talked 4 hours, not to fix anything, just to understand. By the time the sun dipped below the garden's edge, they had circled the pond 3 times. Ezra offered to drive Eli home. He declined, but as they said goodbye, Ezra paused. There's something else. He pulled a small envelope from his coat. Inside was a photo, a new one. It wasn't from the wedding, it was from the rehearsal dinner, taken by Camila. It showed Ezra and Alex standing together, and in the background, someone had drawn a small star above Eli's head. The faintest mark, but there. She said she added it because the photo looked like it was missing light, Ezra said. I thought you should have it. Eli took it, said nothing, walked away. But that night, for the first time in years, he opened his journal and wrote not about loss, but about acknowledgement. The story was still his, even if they tried to rewrite the ending. It wasn't supposed to be emotional, just a polite dinner with too many forks and a signature cocktail named after Ezra and Alex's favorite vacation spot. The wedding was set in a vineyard tucked between rolling hills in southern Ohio. Ivy climbed the white brick walls. Edison bulbs swung over the dance floor. The scent of lemon and rosemary filled the air. Everything was carefully arranged to look effortless, but nothing about it felt effortless to Eli. He arrived just before sunset wearing a navy suit he hadn't worn in years. It fit differently now, looser at the chest, snug at the shoulders. As he stepped through the courtyard gates, a few heads turned. A cousin waved, then hesitated. Someone whispered his name. He kept walking. Ezra had texted earlier, asking if Eli would sit with the family or if he preferred a spot near the back. Eli didn't respond. He didn't come for a seat. He came because there were things that had been said too late and some that still hadn't been said at all. He wanted to look his brother in the eye and see if he still recognized him. The ceremony began just as the sky turned orange. Ezra stood tall in a charcoal suit, Alex beside him in a tailored burgundy blazer. The officiant spoke of new beginnings. Eli stood in the back row, behind a column, invisible to most. When the vows began, Ezra cleared his throat and said, "I used to think love was something you earn, that it comes when you're strong enough, safe enough, good enough. But the truth is, love isn't a prize. It's a choice, one you make when you're scared, one you make when you've failed before, one you make even when you know it could cost you something you'll never get back." His voice broke slightly. He looked into the crowd, past Alex, past the guests, and for the briefest moment, his eyes landed on Eli. "That's how I know I'm ready, because this time I'm choosing with my eyes open." The guests applauded. The ceremony ended. Music swelled. Champagne flowed. Eli stayed outside near the tree line, watching guests laugh and gather for pictures. He hadn't planned to go inside the reception hall, but then he saw someone approach, the last person he expected. It was Alex's mother, Marisol. She was shorter than Eli remembered, her black hair streaked with silver now. She walked with slow, steady grace, holding a small clutch against her chest like it carried something precious. "I'm sorry," she said without preamble. "I didn't know, not until it was too late." Eli looked at her, unsure. "Didn't know what?" "That it was you," she said, "that you were the buff from the journal." He blinked. "Journal?" She nodded. Alex kept a journal for a while after college. He never let anyone read it, but when he got engaged, he gave it to me. Said, "If anything ever happens and you need to understand, it's all in here." She handed Eli a folded piece of paper from her clutch. "I made a copy of one page. I thought you should see it." Eli unfolded it. The handwriting was unmistakably Alex's, looped and tight. The date was 3 years ago. "There's a boy I loved once. He saw all of me and still chose to stay. I left him not because I stopped loving him, but because I thought love wasn't enough if it made the people I love hate me. I regret that, and I hope wherever he is, he knows. I remember the way his voice shook when he said goodbye. I remember the silence I gave him in return." Eli stared at the words, his throat tightening. Marisol touched his arm lightly. "He didn't want to hurt you, but he did. I can't change that, but I can say this, he never stopped thinking about you." Eli folded the paper and placed it in his jacket pocket. "Thank you," he said quietly. She nodded, turned and walked back inside. Later during the speeches, Ezra stood to thank the guests. He spoke of growth, of forgiveness, of building a life with someone who sees you even in your worst moments. He didn't name Eli, but his eyes drifted toward the back of the room again, once, and didn't look away. Eli raised his glass. It wasn't about winning. It wasn't even about being remembered in front of a crowd. It was about reclaiming something he had once given away too freely, his own voice. He left before dessert. As he walked to his car, he passed a small chalkboard sign near the vineyard's edge. Someone had written the evening's menu, the signature cocktail, and below it a quote in cursive chalk, "Love isn't a prize, it's a choice." Eli smiled. Just a little, because this time no one had spoken for him, and no one ever would again. The day after the wedding, Eli returned to Seattle with a strange calm in his chest. Not peace, not closure, just quiet. For the first time in years, he didn't replay old conversations in his head, didn't write letters he'd never send. He just unpacked his small weekend bag, took off his suit, and let the silence settle. That night, he opened the folded page from Alex's journal again and read it like scripture, each word both a wound and a balm. There was something freeing about knowing that the silence between them hadn't meant absence, only fear. And maybe love never left, it just lived in exile. A week later, Eli stopped by a thrift store to drop off some clothes. On the way out, he saw a secondhand photo frame, wooden, slightly chipped at the edges. He bought it without knowing why. When he got home, he dug through a box in the closet, one he hadn't opened since moving to Seattle. Inside were fragments of a past he once tried to forget. Concert tickets, dried flower petals from a bouquet Alex gave him, and a photo taken 3 years ago, blurry but alive. Eli and Alex on campus lawn chairs, grinning with windswept hair, and Ezra photobombing in the background. The only photo that ever had all three of them in it. He stared at it for a long time, then placed it in the frame and left it face down on his desk. Days passed, then came the email. Not from Ezra. Not from Alex, but from his father. Subject: you don't have to respond. Message: I heard you came to the wedding. I know things weren't fair to you. I don't have the right words. Maybe someday I will. But if you want to talk, I'm here. Eli didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, he called Ezra, the first time since the wedding. Ezra picked up on the first ring. Neither spoke for a full 10 seconds. Then Eli said, I found the photo. Ezra exhaled. The one with the lawn chairs? Yeah, I framed it. Ezra laughed, soft and surprised. I forgot we even had that. I didn't. I just tried to. Another pause. Ezra cleared his throat. I can't fix what I broke. I know that, but if there's ever a day you want to add a new photo to that frame, just let me know. Eli didn't promise anything, but for once he didn't hang up with a hole in his chest. A month later, Alex sent a package. No note, just a book of short stories they used to read aloud together with a page dog-eared and underlined. Some people enter our lives like seasons, and some leave like storms. But the ones who return, they're the ones who teach us what roots feel like. Eli kept the book on his shelf beside a new photo one he took of himself at the beach, wind in his hair, eyes unguarded. Alone, but not lonely. The old photos stayed in the wooden frame, but now it faced outward. He never tried to explain that to anyone. He didn't need to, because healing doesn't always arrive with answers. Sometimes it comes quietly through truth spoken late, forgiveness offered early, in a past no longer denied. Have you ever held on to something painful until it became the gift that finally set you free? If this story touched you, share it with someone who might need to feel seen. Leave your story in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Heart Stories, where we believe the heart always remembers, even when the world tries to forget.